We're about to dive into a hidden world that so many people navigate in complete silence. It's called neurodivergent masking. We're going to uncover its deep, deep connection to burnout, but more importantly, we'll look at what we can all actually do about it. So let's get right into it. For social smarts, let's just start with a feeling I bet so many of us know all too well. You get home, you collapse on the couch, and you are just completely drained. But when you look back on your day, nothing especially stressful even happened. So why on earth does it feel like you just ran a marathon? Well, if that sounds familiar, you need to hear this. Psychotherapist Barbara Lazzaroni confirms it. You are absolutely not imagining it. That bone-deep exhaustion, it's real. And it actually has a name, and it has a cause. So, this feeling, this exhaustion you just can't seem to explain, that's our starting point. It's the direct result of the constant and often subconscious effort of just trying to fit in. So, what is masking? Okay, here's the simple version. It's the act of hiding your natural behaviors to meet the expectations of what we call a neurotypical world. Basically, a world that's mostly designed for brains that process things in a more standard way. It's a skill that a lot of neurodivergent people learn really early on to avoid being judged. And it's so important to see it for what it is, a brilliant survival strategy, not some kind of personal flaw. But every survival strategy comes with a price tag. And it's constant performance, this masking, it takes an incredible toll that goes way, way beyond just feeling a little tired at 5 o'clock. So let's explore what this actually looks like in day-to-day life. Because, the signs are often hiding in plain sight. Things like forcing eye contact when it feels really uncomfortable, or maybe scripting out entire conversations in your head before they happen. It can be mimicking someone else's posture so you seem more normal, or pushing down that urge to fidget or stim. It's also hiding the things you're passionate about because you're worried others might find them weird. And a huge one, enduring sensory overload, like a super loud office while pretending you're totally fine. For strategists, and this is where we get strategic, because you can see how this drains you from every possible angle. Masking isn't just one thing. It's like fighting a war on multiple fronts. Cognitively, your brain is constantly self-monitoring. Emotionally, you're swallowing down frustration and overwhelm. Physically, you're tensing your body in all sorts of unnatural ways. And the long-term cost? It's probably the worst one. You start losing touch with who you actually are and what you really need. And when all of that adds up, what do you get? Neurodivergent burnout. And let's be super clear here, this is not the kind of burnout that a long weekend or a vacation can fix. This is a profound state of physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion. It's a total system collapse that can take months or even years to really recover from. Okay, this next part is so important. If any of what we've talked about rings true for you, I really need you to hear this one thing. The problem isn't you. It is the relentless pressure to conform to an environment that just wasn't built for you. So why do we blame ourselves? Well, there's a sneaky thing called internalized ableism. It's this quiet process where we absorb all of society's narrow ideas of what's normal or productive. And eventually, they become our own harsh inner critic, constantly telling us that our struggles are just personal failures. For settlers and explorers, let's really break this down because unlearning that self-blame is so powerful. That little voice in your head that says, I'm just being lazy, what's really going on is your brain is struggling with executive dysfunction. That voice that says, I'm being too sensitive, that's actually a real neurological response to sensory inputs that can be genuinely painful. And the one we all know, I just need to try harder. That's like telling a fish to try harder at climbing a tree. It completely misunderstands the basic reality of how your brain is wired. This all leads to a really fascinating question, though. For so long, we frame these social challenges as something a neurodivergent person just needs to fix about themselves. But what if that whole idea is just plain wrong? And the answer lies in this. Honestly, it's a game-changing framework called the double empathy problem. It was proposed by Dr. Damian Milton, and it basically argues that these communication breakdowns aren't one person's fault. Instead, it's a mutual misunderstanding. Both neurodivergent and neurotypical people have a hard time intuitively getting the other's perspective. And just look at the difference here. The old way of thinking expected one person to build this shaky, exhausting bridge all by themselves. But the double empathy model, it sees it as a shared responsibility. It's a bridge that has to be built from both sides if it's ever going to be strong. Okay, so we've unpacked the what and the why, but now for the really important part. What do we actually do about it? This section is all about the path to unmasking, and we're going to talk about a safe, practical way to start getting your energy and your true self back. For settlers. Now, the key here is safety. This isn't about ripping the mask off all at once. That can feel totally terrifying. Instead, it's a gradual process. First, just start to notice. When and where do you feel the most pressure to perform? Second, start small, in places where you feel safe, maybe with one trusted friend or a colleague you really get along with. Third, learn to communicate your needs, but in a really practical way. So instead of saying, I'm overwhelmed, you could try saying, I produce my best work when I have written instructions. And fourth, make tiny, sustainable changes. Use a fidget toy under the desk. Take a 2-minute sensory break. Small steps. Now, taking these steps for yourself is huge. It really is. But it's only half the battle. The real, lasting change happens when we stop trying to fix people and we start fixing the environments they're in. Let's talk about building better workplaces. Not just for some people, but for everyone. And for anyone in a leadership role, listen up, because this is the strategic pivot. The best, most effective strategies are proactive, not reactive. Instead of waiting for someone to disclose a diagnosis and ask for an accommodation, you design a workplace that is inclusive from the ground up. That's the whole idea behind universal design. And I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds expensive. Well, check out this number. A survey from the Job Accommodations Network found that 56%, over half, of workplace accommodations cost absolutely nothing to implement. Zero. We're not talking about expensive overhauls, we're just talking about working smarter. So what does a good environment actually look like? Well, here are a few green flags you can look for. Simple things, like clear meeting agendas sent out ahead of time, having access to quiet spaces for focused work, offering truly flexible hours as the default, not the exception, providing instructions and feedback in writing, and just normalizing brain breaks for everyone, because none of us can focus for 8 hours straight. And here's the thing that benefits everybody. These aren't special perks for just a small group of people. I mean, think about it. Clear communication, flexibility, and respect for people's focus, that's just good management. When you design a workplace that supports your neurodivergent employees, you end up creating a better, more productive, and more human-centered workplace for every single person on your team. Look, at the end of the day, this isn't just about being a good person, though that's important. This is a strategic advantage. When companies truly support the deep focus and the innovative thinking of their neurodivergent employees, they're not just getting contributors, they're getting the people who will drive that company forward. So I want to leave you with this one big idea to chew on. For decades, the conversation has been, how can neurodivergent people learn to fit in? But maybe, just maybe, we've been asking the wrong question all along. What if the real question is, how can our world adapt to embrace the full, brilliant spectrum of all human minds? Thanks for exploring that with us.
If this touched your heart, please subscribe, like, and share it with your family. Save this for more meaningful content ahead.